All right, so here we are back again, live on the right angle cross of Contagion with the 2-4 profile. The 2-4 understands something that is so natural for the 2-4. It says, I don't want to be bothered, but this could really work. So I hire you and you do it. I have the power to appoint you to a direction and you do all the work. I'm very democratic. I'll give you shares. I make sure you will be rewarded. But while you're doing all that, leave me alone. I'm going to be over here. I'll check the bank account. That's the idea of the 14 too. Remember, it's contagion, the wisdom that's investing in expertise, bringing rewards. This is about the dilemma of either you're going to invest and expand or you're going to do it all yourself and fuck up because you don't do it all yourself. And the not self 14.2 says, leave me alone, I'll do it myself, I do everything myself. And we know what happens to these beings. They cannot do that. They can't. It's a much deeper understanding of the nature of power and its relationship to material. Everything about the 14 is the relationship, power and money. How we deal with all this. Is the power the money, or is the power just something that is around power? So when you get to the two says, I have the power. I don't have to be focused on the money. I have to be focused on using the power to get to the money to come to me. Management. So when you're dealing with these two forces, you have to see that their network at the unconscious level is going to take an enormous difference in their life. So when you're dealing with this two four, you have to see that the network at the unconscious level is going to make an enormous difference in their life. One can never forget how important opportunism is to the four. And whenever you're dealing with the material dimension, particularly when we're dealing with this tribal materialism, that the president of the fourth line represents material opportunities, money opportunities, and business opportunities. So here in this context, when you're dealing with this 2-4, it's very, very powerful. In other words, there's a tremendous amount of material potential and management skills. The energy and power for management skills. Now, 14s have a dilemma because it's if they're not operating correctly, and if we're dealing with somebody who's a generator in this context, and two-thirds of them will be to really see what they're going to not responding correctly, if they're not entering into things and you could and you should, then this becomes a very painful exercises in which they can have all this power to be able to delegate and never get to delegate to anyone and nothing grows. The 14 is here to bring what this guy's name Stockman. He was a finance in the American government under Reagan, and he brought in this trickle down economy. This idea that if you stop taxing basically the very rich, that their investment of monies into the expansion of the business will trickle down into more jobs and increased income within the chain that lies underneath. Now, theoretically, in terms of economic forms, there seems to be some validity that in some economic formula. And the thing to recognize about the 2-4 is that this is the ultimate trickle down. This is all about recognizing that this is where pyramid schemes were first invented. The ultimate hustles are there in the second line, really good hustles. It was so much fun. Not for those people from me to watch that the moment that the Iron Curtain came down in all of these East European countries were all these pyramid scandals that emerged overnight. This kind of things that we're doing in America in the 1920s. These incredible hustles where you give me 100 and I give you back 50 interest in a month. And then you get all these people that are pouring in all this money, and a few of them get paid. That and then eventually the people who do that disappear, and they've got all this money. This is the delegation business. This is the moving down business. This is the trickle down business. So what you get out of that is there's nothing more powerful than the 2-4 on this cross that is called. The moment they get the call, they have a gift of being able to bring that contagion into others, to delegate the management and ultimately be able to get the role. Now, in most cases, that does not happen. You can tell by the beginning of that because it says the wisdom. And one of the things I'll notice about the 14th gate is that if you look at the 14th gate in the Ray I Ching, remember that whenever you see it intro into the line, and that intro is in blue, whenever you see that intro, you know that this is a lifelong development process. Every single one of the lines of the 14th gate is a long term process. In other words, that the accumulation and retention of power is never something that comes to you too quickly. It doesn't. You have to go through this process. Wherever you have to accumulate the power and know how to hold on to it. If you don't know how to respond, that power is going to get blown out all over the place. And that creates as many ways as confusion will permit, because we're talking about the central system. But 2-5. 2-5s have a tendency to fall into the detriment theme. And the detriment theme is thinking that they are at the best expert. Remember that we're dealing with a self motivated phenomenon. So it's very easy for them in that context to see themselves as the only expert because projection has showed them that they're going to suffer whatever they try to put out across on the other, what they want to the other to do. The great dilemma of the 14 that it's individual. If this was the collective, it would be really easy. I'm only here, I have this, you're over there, you have that, you do that. But when you're an individual, it doesn't work. There's resistance to the individual. It's something that's new. The individual is very selfless in the way they hold on to their uniqueness. That's not the we. The collective always speaks in we, and we're dealing with an individual empowerment on the material plane, so we're dealing with the I. There's no we. I give this to you. And then when it becomes your I, and it goes on and on and on. So you don't have the same kind of bond in the way in which we management can operate. In other words, this is a very different kind of management system that you would ever see in the collective or in the tribe. It has nothing to do with either, because it's not about money, it's about power. The 14th gate is obsessed with power. That's the thing. And it's legitimate in a way, like all things. It powers the driver. So there's the fueling the monopole, giving that second gate the impetus it needs, and then you begin to see the dilemma. The fuel dictates the quality of direction. So with the 2-5, it's a dilemma. It's all about the power. Wow.